will start just in 10 minutes. Just check, sound check. 1, 2, 3.
1 1 1. Yes. Yes. Nice.
Drinking Henny, bad bitches jumping in the pool and I ain't got on no bra. Hit her front or back, pulling on the tracks and now she screaming out no more. They like Savage, why you got a 12-car garage and you only got 6 cars? I ain't with the cake and how you kiss that. Your wifey say I'm looking like a whole snap. Green honey's in my safe, I got old racks. LA bitches always asking where the coke at. Living like a rock star, smash out on a cop car, sweeter than a Pop-Tart. You know you are not hard, I done made the hot chart. Remember I used to chop hard, living like a rock star, I'm living like a rock star. I've been fucking hoes and popping pillies, man, I feel just like a rock star. All my brothers got that gas and they always be smoking like a rock star. Fucking with me, call up on the Uzi and show up in the shot toss. When my homies roll up on you, now they make that thing go grata-ta-ta.
Clocks like my grandparents, so she made that scroll. Oh, that's it. So, yes. Yeah. Labas. 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 Still me. One.
Okay, good. We can hear me. Hi, everybody, and also greetings to those watching. Actually, 25 people are watching us on the stream. Welcome, and I see a lot of people enjoying food and drinks. And just for those who just maybe hear me, don't be afraid to come closer. We have plenty of space still here in the first, second, third row. So it's going to be fun. Let's make it cozy, and we still have some time. So 5 minutes or so, enjoy your drink, snack, and then we're going to be starting. And yeah, greetings to those on the stream, and we're going to be starting in 5 minutes, so we can get back to the music a little bit. So you can also grab one from here
Aš
if
kaip
you will need more.
žmogus dalyvavęs
So that's a corner for us with
audituose
water needs.
ir panašiai savo laiku, tai man irgi kaip Dainiusui toks yra iš karto security.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so that's, we kind of put the setup for the fireside chat right away, not to have any transitions. And yeah. Keep it simple.
Solved.
Simona, labas. Man atrodo, susirašinėjom kažkada po tavo pristatymo praėjusiais metais po Forward Product. Tai rašiau tai, kad labai patiko ir dabar su Dainium irgi bendravom, tai dabar žinau, kad kartu dirba, tai norėjau pasilabinti. Aleksas esu. Malonu. Jo. Ir atsiprašau, aš čia su Darium taip įlindau, bet... Taip. Bet vis dėlto reikia papietauti nueiti kada. Labas, Olė. Taip. Viskas. Matai? Design. What they think. Smagu.
Neįna, tai kai per sceną kažkas įeina, aš kad per sceną praeina pro duris, kažkas vaikščia, judesys yra. Ir ten toksai siaurėjantis dalykas, o geriau toksai...
Kaip man patinka, kad tu matai, ką aš pamačiau šiandien.
Ką pamatai šiandien sceną?
Ne, tai... Amerine. How do you do it? Calc or this or that? I mean, whatever you prefer. All right, guys. Here having some drinks, some food.
Sure. And
also, we can be totally fine actually switching music louder just to cover the space. When nobody's talking, and we will be starting in a moment. But just, I mean.
Kaip univerė. Galiodka.
Yeah, there is a problem.
Ne, bet šiaip, kas nepasumuštinio, tai irgi priekinis yra kad užtesnės būna.
I can give you a minute.
Tai
Zaha Hadid stato,
tik žiūrėsim mum į užpakalius, bet...
Klausyk, galima aš čia prisėsiu prie
kažkada
savo
tai man iš tų linksmų posakių yra rinkos tadas per intervą pasakęs apie kitus Beatlus, kad tos subinės gerą muziką rašė. Nes kai įsigroja būgnais, o tie trys stovi prieš sceną, jis mato užpakalis visą laiką.
Dropping the album in a moment.
Ne tai, kad įžeidė. Jis tiesiog pasakė teisybę. Viskas nuo požiūrio taško priklauso.
Gerai, biški traumą gavau, žinai, tai toks, ir šiaip šie metai tokie. Aš prieš Chicago maratoną čia pernai dar metų pabaigoje persistengiau, tai man pradėjo ten bursyti, žodžiu, ten kažkas uždegimas, bla bla. Jo. O tada metų pradžioje čia keliavom, Filipinuose ir avariją patekom. Ne su mašina, niekas iš mūsų netgi nevairavo, bet tiesiog mes nuvažiavom nuo kelio per džiunglės iki Palmės ir ten normaliai mane padaužė. Tai, žodžiu, tokie įdomesni metai. But anyway. Jau grįžęs irgi pasidariau viską pačekę. Okay, we have folks here. Hi, good to see you. Hi, Aleksas. We already know each other, but it's always good to shake hands, right? Okay, good stuff. Hey, Maxim, good to see you. Nu, Aurimai, kaip tu?
A?
Kaip laikai?
See something?
Gerai?
Something.
Nu, super. Okay, pabiškai pradėsim, žinok. Nu, pabiškai reikės jau, žinok. Pabiškai jau reikės ir o ten... Aš žinau, kad labai skanu, bet dar spėsim, žinai. Can you switch me on, please? All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good evening. Labas vakaras visiems susirinkusiems ir ne tik. Hello everybody and guys. I really excited to see everybody here and invite you to come closer because we have quite a few spots here. So guys in the back, I appreciate you enjoying your drinks and snacks. We're going to have networking afterwards as well. So please come over here, grab a seat in the, especially first rows because we still have places available. Would be great to have you here because some more people might show up in a moment and let's try to accommodate as many people who, willing to sit. So just let's make it cozy, you can move a little bit around and don't be shy, come closer. We have plenty of seats here. Okay. All right, and I don't know how many, I think last time I was checking we had about 25 people watching us online. We're actually broadcasting today because we had such a great demand for this event and that was a very humbling, to some degree intimidating experience. So many people wanted to come, even though we were like with the team thinking, wait a sec, the weather in Lithuania is getting much better. That's going to be the main competitor for Tuesday evening in Vilnius, no? It's sunny, it's nice, we have survived yet another winter. Huh? So, let's not talk about tomorrow. Can we just live in the moment for a second? Because it's always, yesterday was this and that, and tomorrow I have a board meeting. No, let's focus on the moment. So I invite everybody to focus just on right here, right now. And I want to welcome you all. Like I said, I'm very excited to see so many people gathering here on site, but also everybody watching us on our live broadcast. Very warm welcome to ProductTank Vilnius. And this is actually a very special edition. But before diving into details, let me introduce myself. My name is Aleksas Drozdovskis, and I'm Strategy and Experience Consulting Director here at EPAM Systems, which is a global software engineering and digital strategy and business consulting firm. And also, I'm very much delighted to welcome you in one of the largest European hubs of the company. Vilnius is home to more than 1,000 advanced engineers, architects, designers, consultants working here with us with multiple international clients, and we're proud sponsor and partner for this event. I must say this wearing my EPAM hat, but also on the other hand, I'm actually an official ProductTank Vilnius co-organizer. And saying that, I would need to repeat who is our sponsor once again, but I will skip that part because I kind of introduced myself already working for EPAM Systems, right? So you know. Anyway, I want to understand because on Meetup we saw that a lot of people are coming for the very first time here. So for whom this is the first ProductTank Vilnius Meetup you're attending, please raise your, oh wow, okay. So that's at least a 30% of the audience. I'm so happy to see you guys. I hope you will enjoy the experience. Well, for you especially, I must say a few words about what ProductTank and Mind the Product is. So, ProductTank is an official non-profit arm of Mind the Product, and Mind the Product perhaps is the biggest product management community worldwide these days, running some of the biggest conferences in the world for product people. And we believe that it's a great space we're creating for all sorts of people in local communities, like here in Vilnius, Lithuania, to come together. Such communities are being run in over 200 cities across the world. And this year is actually, and this event is very special because it's May 2025, and in May, Mind the Product celebrates World Product Day. There is a reason for that. And this year, it's a special reason. It's not just a World Product Day, yet another year, it's anniversary. So 15 years ago in London, the first Product Tank happened in the back of a bar in London, West End, and that's how Product Tank started. And like I said, our mission is to foster collaboration and growth within the local product communities. So we hope we will share with you, together with our experts, quite a few, insights and experiences and know-hows. And then, I think the best part, you will be able, and you already started that, so I was really pleased to see you networking in the back, having a snack, having a drink. So we'll have also the networking part after the event. And today, it is also a special edition of our meetups. It is not yet another meetup, it's a mini-conference what we decided to come up with and offer you today. We will feature 2 keynotes and a fireside chat. And we also thought that, let me ask you a question. How many of you have had a situation where you were clearly seeing that product management is essentially treated as a, backlog administration? Anyone? Don't be shy, we all were in those rooms, at least once in our career. So, with this being said, and many other things going on around the product management, we thought, okay, so what if we actually focus on something that really moves the needle for a lot of companies, and that's making money, and that's making commercially successful products. So how about we discuss exactly that today? What is that commercial skill set required in product leadership? And I'm absolutely delighted and happy that this idea, both for the format and for the topic, was very warm welcomed. And today we have 4 absolutely outstanding speakers, experts coming, from so many places in the world. And I really appreciate that, and I will talk about that a little bit more when introducing each and every individually. But like I said, we will be starting now with 2 keynotes. And then we'll have a power break just for 10 minutes or so, and then we will engage in a fireside chat, and then we will open up for the networking. So I know it's evening on Tuesday, and the weather is nice, but bear with us, we just thought that let's make it a bit dense and saturated content-wise, and enjoy some new learnings. And with this being said, let me introduce our first keynote. Ignas Ligionis, who is a lead business analyst here at EPAM Systems. In addition to 20 years of experience in IT as a product owner and business analyst, Ignas brings experience as a college lecturer, a Mindfight, or as Lithuanians know, protmušis enthusiast. And not only that, he's a published book author, and all of this, to me, obvious reflection of his commitment to sharing his knowledge with his peers and community. And in his keynote, we will be discussing how analytical and data-driven approaches can help build commercially successful products, drawing on conceptual models and real-world business cases to spark really nice and interesting discussions. So, warm welcome to Ignas. Ignas, the floor is yours.
So thanks for this very warm introduction, and you forgot to mention one very important thing that is happening also later today. It's Eurovision. Who watches Eurovision? Almost the same guys who just manage the backlog. Okay. So let's start. And the title of this, Secret Sauce of Commercially Successful Products. And this presentation will be more on food for your thoughts, and that's why the title also is connected to food. It won't be like deep analysis of frameworks. It just jumpstart conversation, how we can go and check what is the secret sauce, because from all the gourmand eating that sauce is very important, and sauce chef is usually second person next to chef itself. So let's see, and maybe we will have an answer how to bake this secret sauce at the end of the presentation. A bit about me. Aleksas already mentioned lots of facts. So yeah, 20 years working in IT, still kicking, going strong. You see, not bald, not gray hair much here. Currently acting as a lead business analyst in EPAM and work with many industries, mostly iGaming, cybersecurity, logistics, finance, some others. Spent 6 years as a lecturer in a college, giving all the analytical lectures and some random facts. Besides Protmuche, 2 books, more than 450 different board games played. Squirrel is my spirit animal, and it also will lead me through all this nice presentation. And as currently I'm lead business analyst, tackling all the interesting things here in EPAM, so let's talk about EPAM itself. So EPAM was founded in 1993 in the United States, headquarters in Pennsylvania. And in total, headcount is more than 60,000 people, 1,200 here in Lithuania, in 55 regions, and it's close to 5 billion revenues. And by using advanced software engineering, digital strategy, and business consulting, we're helping all the companies to achieve their goals, to make products that actually makes an impact. And most of the products comes from the financial services, and that's a good, Lithuania is a good place here because we have Revolut, lots of fintech companies, lots of expertise here. Next one, consumer goods, retail and travel. My project is in retail industry. The customer is big, 2 billion revenues per year, competitor of Procter & Gamble. Life science and healthcare, software, high-tech, emerging, business information and media, so those are pillars that company stands on. And 2/3 of the projects from geographical point of view comes from the Americas, both north and south. EMEA region, 1/3, and a bit of Asia. So it's really global business, and we're helping in many industries to achieve all the goals. And yep, so this is just a couple of well-known names that we can share. It's not under NDA, so Reebok, Primark, Sephora, Epic Games, so different brands, and how we can help to make the impact. And this neatly brings me along to the recognition, because EPAM is recognized globally by the top leading companies for business consulting like Gartner, Forrester, Newsweek, and so on. And like top 9 customer experience consultancy, best position IT services, price for the future, top 50 most loved workplaces, and many other things good you can see this. But let's return to our food for thoughts, and the question is, so what's on the menu? And the menu, we will have 4 different parts. So we'll start with a more theoretical model on the revenue and accounting part. Then we'll take a real example from sports analytics, finishing with a commercial cannibalism. It sounds scary, and it is, but a bit. And we finish with Socratic method, which also can raise some questions what ancient Greece has to do with modern product management. No worries, we'll cover that. Just wait for 15 minutes. But let's start from a usual day in product manager life. I'm using just product manager because in different companies it can be named differently. Product owner, product manager, product strategist, and so on and so forth. Let's say when I want to interview to a product manager role, but actually everything was just written down from Agile on product owner, all the responsibilities and stuff like that. So I'm using product manager, but just think of any product expert who's working on this. So yeah, one day, this nice product owner thinks that some financial data could back up his solution, strategy, things, ideas, and he goes to CFO, Chief Financial Officer, and say, please give me some financial data. I need to make a decision based on my strategy, plans, and so on. And sometimes the answer is quite simple and straightforward. I was also in this situation. It says, not available, sorry, can't share, and so on and so on. And sometimes it's even done in very polite manner, like sincerely. We will refrain from discussing CFO motivation here because it could be many valid reasons. Let's say data privacy, NDA, something else. But we just explore 3 cases that can result in this lack of data. begin with that, another person who's not a product expert, but a famous musician, but he's got a very good thought expressed. A mind is like a parachute. It doesn't work if it's not open. So yeah, if you're jumping from tall building, so not much use of a closed parachute. Therefore, continuing for the first type, revenue center, or as I call it more, like gone with the cash, because it's always people going to the cash part. And this is a theoretical model, but you can see how it can be applied and transferred to many different life situations. So just to make it simple, this is a very nice company which produces nice tables and chairs. For simplicity, we have only two teams here. Supply team, which bought all the wood, and production team, which makes all the nice equipment. So yeah, simple business model, nice, woodworking company. And we checked the financial results compared with previous year, and we did $10,000 euros worse. So what's happened? And now this is the levels of the CFO data could help us here, because if you just see this number, it just something went wrong. What exactly? Don't know. Just by looking by numbers, you can't tell. It got worse. Okay. So let's add another layer and treat each team as a revenue center. Not like this one company as a big one, but each team. Okay, what do we see? Revenue center for the supply team. So supply team improved their result. Good to see. But production lost a lot of money. So what can be usually done here? So yeah, set to production team, go with them the stick, asking what went wrong, anything, and big kudos, badges, what prizes to supply team because they did a great job. We even saved, we managed to balance the minus from the production team. But then if you go even deeper to understand where these numbers come from, it can tell you completely different story. Because supply team bought the cheapest possible low quality wood and saved money. So what is the cheapest on market? You negotiate the price, save a lot of money, and that's fine. And the production team worked extra hours because materials of poor quality, more defective products. So everyone was struggling a lot, and maybe this minus 15,000 is a great effort because other than that it would be minus 20. So having access to more and more data, even on financial part, you can see how money accumulates. Because what happens here is a simple thing. Each team was concentrating to optimize its own performance without communication with others. Actually, it's seen this in my career. My department has no clue what another department were doing, and vice versa. So this is exactly the similar thing, because it's just optimizing in silos makes like optimizing a chess game where every piece thinks it's a king. Not much great efficiently. So this is the first example. Let's look at the real world example. And we will talk about sports analytics. I put basketball because, well, we are in Lithuania. Lithuania is a basketball country. I won't ask which team you support. I don't want to start fight here, but you in Vilnius, so remember that. Just saying. That's also a good choice. As a person who still remember how Michael Jordan and didn't sleep, old enough. Sorry? Basketball? Allen Iverson. Because he's the same height as me. Like, you can see something similar because, well, Arvydas Sabonis, Shaquille O'Neal, well, they are a bit different physical composure. So let's try a look at NBA, as mentioned. So actually, NBA is the land of crazy stats. We put SAP analytics, we invested a lot, and we gathered a lot of different data on this. And some data are really useful for the decisions, like player X accuracy drops by 2.5% if he's guarded by another player. It means you can actually make a good match who is guarding who. And also some marketing promotional, like first player to score 30 points in history, 10 rebounds, 7 steal, and wearing green socks. So anything can happen. But what happened is this. This is top 200 most popular shots positions in NBA in 20 years difference. Well, you don't need to be a basketball coach or pro player, but something's different here, right? Because the patterns are quite different, and what's actually happened, because when you have access to a lot of data and you're analyzing, you're making good decisions, you're optimizing. It's probability versus benefit. So it's simple formula to calculate expected points. So accuracy and point value. So let's say for accuracy to hit that 2-pointer long one, it's 40%. So the expected point value, 0.8. It means after 10 attacks, you have 8 points. You make a 3-pointer, yeah, accuracy only 30%, but you get awarded 3 points. That means after 10 attacks, team will have 9 points. It's simple. That means you make this extra 2 meters back and you get rewarded. Very simple. Thank you, Splash Brothers, Curry and Thompson, for making this happen. Now everybody copies this. I checked the NBA conference semifinals. One team took 60% of its shots as 3-pointers. It was New York Knicks this morning. And efficiently, not always is a good thing. There are, of course, many different things to uncover that, but actually NBA viewership is dropping quite drastically. Of course, this is not the only reason. This is one of the reasons that piles up on everything. What's happened? Because each team plays the same pattern, as I mentioned. So I checked this. More than half shots are 3-pointers. So either you're making a 3-pointer or you just easy point in the paint. So you dunk or layup or so on. That means you're taking less risk. And each team plays the same. And products are looking stale. And even you trying to look at Lithuanian commenters in all the portals, will say, oh, it's not interesting, guys, just running and making 3-point shots. Yeah, because it's efficient. So what can be learned from this example? So one team concentrated to optimize performance, and everybody just copied that. What does that mean? That means everything becomes identical. So yeah, you can say, yeah, it's different teams, the league is different thing, but actually I've seen many companies that just each team works by itself and doesn't make much contribution to another. Let's say pushing different apps or something like that, don't have a common strategy. And what's happening? You have very simple products that are the same, and you lose your uniqueness. The real case, who remembers MySpace?
Got a page.
Yay, awesome. How it's doing now? Not very good, right? And the reason they try to copy Facebook, because Facebook is doing it better. So let's copy that. And what ended? They lost their identity, and therefore they just lost that competition to Facebook. So sometimes identity is very important, and having lots of data just to understand how to stand off is more important. So you just have to take that shot, sometimes not from the book, like Jordan did from this point against the Utah Jazz. I remember that. I was crying almost. And next, last one from the examples, commercial cannibalization. I worked 6 years in iGaming. We had a gaming platform, so this situation is very dear to me. And I will explain again, having access to different levels of data. I'm a product manager, I launch a new game. That's fine, achievement. I look at the data, it's only data on my product, on my feature. It's very profitable. That's amazing. Going celebrating, going to restaurant and enjoying the evening. But imagine we get more data, I can look at the company level. In total, my profit is the same. So imagine to launch a very, very profitable thing, but it didn't make any impact. Well, because all games are not profitable anymore. So what happened here is a simple case of cannibalization, which helps to uncover all this access to data. And reasons could be different here. So it's Kiwi example, so it could be the same audience. Let's say iPhone tried to push the SE phone as a cheaper option and wanted to attract other users to buy cheaper iPhones instead of buying cheaper Androids. It ended up the same Apple people buying cheaper iPhones. But they made this on marketing level and now it's doing fine. So it could be feature redundancy, like remember Coca-Cola, Life, Green, Zero, Diet, whatever, so the many of these. So again, we start and compete each other and also not. Or offering on the same channel. So could be many, many reasons to this. And sometimes, of course, it's benefits, so I'm just trying to defend this. Boston Consulting Matrix, simple example of nice sending of docs. So it's old products, you're just keeping this, but maybe you'd like to get rid of this. So yeah, so it's nice send off. Introduce something new, shiny. Enhance customer loyalty, yeah, we care about our customers. Here you go, new, shiny thing. And drive innovation here. So sometimes you need to eat your kiwi before someone else does that. And this is the issue here that you may launch a new product that compete with existing ones without mistakenly believing that we will capture new market share. So we had 3 different cases. Remember the CFO cases. Now what to do? So who will make that secret sauce and help you to uncover this? Socrates. Let's take a look at Socratic method. Yes, this is Socrates. Probably you heard this name from the history textbooks and so on. So what can we learn of a person who lived many thousand years ago, 2.5 as I remember? He said, as for me, all I know, that I know nothing. Well, basically it should be a product manager each Monday when you wake up. And that's not saying that he was a stupid. He was a very intelligent man, Socrates. But he was famous because he was asking too many questions. And he was later accused by Athens government that he's trying to make people rebel against the government. But actually all he was doing, he was asking questions. Because this is a method that where you're asking questions and getting answers, and basically creating conceptual models. Like simple example, a real one, he asked one of his students, is killing a good thing? No, killing a person is a bad thing. Okay. But that person just killed your wife and your son. Well, maybe that, yes, can be done. But you will leave free of that enemy kids, orphans, and they will die in poverty. And you can lead to many, many different things when you can discuss. So that's why we're adding a critical thinking, just to assume the model we are discussing. Examine all the assumptions that we are based on, which should be done in logical consistency, so different things in this, our conceptual model doesn't contradict to each other. And most important, to have constructive dialogue. The aim of Socratic method is not to convince another person that, oh my God, you should believe me, this is a true thing, bro, trust me, works. No, you just have to create a model, discuss this. And how it's going, so need to be specific. Yeah, you don't know, let's say, anything about profit loss statement or depreciation of fixed asset, like it's a financial data. So just ask open-ended questions. So what does that mean? What it gives us? What can I learn from it? What can it show him? And of course, follow-up questions. So if you got a good lead, don't jump to another topic. Continuing to going in that direction. Because let's say if you ask, can this lead to product cannibalization? Yes. Okay. And the next question. So that means you should ask an open-ended question and turn that wheel and get more and more benefit out of that. Here's some simple questions. So I will leave this. I won't read through all of this, but all the areas like clarification, so probe assumptions, reasons, and evidence. Try different viewpoints and perspective, because what does the accountant think, compliance specialist, lead developer, and so on. What are implications of that? And my favorite part, it's very good one, questions about the question. Because why do you think I asked this question? So it's a very good one, because it puts the other person to your position, because maybe you asked me about fixed asset depreciation because you want to know the break-even point of your project. Okay, makes sense, yeah. Okay, so let me explain, let's take a look at the numbers and stuff like that. But of course, it's not all nice and shiny. You have some problems. And the main one is the other person can't have answer either. So you discuss, have a nice conversation, and nothing learned. Another person could just be resistant to questions. I don't have time, I don't want to, I'm just a very shy person, whatever, many things. Of course, it could be time constraint. Creating all the modules, thinking, concepts, takes some time. And of course, you can end up analysis paralysis when you get deep into rabbit hole. You're chasing that rabbit with a nice pocket watch, and you're chasing this for 2 days, and you don't know where you end. So in this case, I would like to ask you a simple question. So to your mind, what is the perfect companion to have Socratic conversation? Any ideas? Anyone? Good one, but where is another one I had in mind? A dog, very good. How dog will explain the concept of revenue center resulting in the profit loss statement being not so nice? More ideas? Yay, 10 points to Gryffindor. Artificial intelligence. Why? Because AI, if you take a look at all these things, problems, so we have all the answers. We are always eager here to help to answer all your questions. We have all the time in the world. So go and ask all the questions, the same in the sports analytics. What's the benefit of being identical? What are disadvantages of being identical? And I'm doing this because here in EPAM we have DIAL, AI model, and this is just a snapshot. So just asking all the questions I'd like to learn, and that helps me to check all the problems from different angles, different aspects. And you can limit all the information if you don't like the very long things. You can learn and play with LLM here. And this is a very nice thing. And one of the questions, because I've got all the questions before this event, was how to employ AI in the product leadership. So here it is. And continuing to the DIAL part. So yeah, so EPAM published a very nice paper, research, how you can unlock real business value with AI. So it's publicly available. You can find it, read it. And by reading this, just be hungry, be humble, be curious. This is the most important part. And I will leave you for the main course and dessert for this. And thanks, and please, let's just be friends on LinkedIn.
Right. Ignas, thank you very much for presentation. And now, guys, we will have a few moments to ask Ignas a follow-up question. And for that, by the way, we can, I guess we can keep standing, or you can sit down if you want.
We can jump.
One more thing. Speaking of questions, so we thought about kind of special treats, and it's always nice to give away some good stuff, good presents, good gifts. So don't be shy, because actually the first. So how to say? in the world where there are too many bad news, we thought, how can we make an evening that we will be sharing only good news today with everybody who will gather, you know. So that's exactly what we're doing, and that will keep going during the event. And yeah, don't be shy. We already have, and we will need a microphone, so if someone can pass over the microphone so everybody can hear the question, that would be great. Sure. Yeah. So let's move into the Q&A, and just or maybe Igor, Christina, if you can also help us with the microphone, I would appreciate it, because we're a bit short on hands here. Thank you. Yeah.
Ignas, my question is, what product manager need to be scared of?
Being scared of being stuck and not learn anymore anything new.
Being stuck and
not learn new
not
things.
Learning anything
yes.
new. Okay. So going back to your
actually, when afraid in this case, so okay, I will translate this a bit. Be scared of new emerging things, because this is nice thing. Let's say, who made 3-year roadmaps? Who did that? Yeah.
Back in the days.
You know what happened? What was released in 3 years? 2 major releases: ChatGPT and COVID-19. And so, what I like to say that don't be scared about new things. Just be scared not to learn about them. You maybe not have to accept them, but see them, understand them, and keep in mind that's very important. So just keep learning about this.
All right, thank you. We have one more in the back. Dainius. Shout out. Shout out to Dainius. Okay. We'll hear more from him, but now a question.
Yeah, actually, a little bit of a contradiction that I noticed, and I'm curious what you think about it. So you mentioned that critical thinking is one of the principles, of course, that are valuable in your day-to-day activities. On the other hand, the best conversation partner is ChatGPT, where there is critically thinking one piece missing in ChatGPT's answers, and that's context. The context that you need to understand your specific problem. Of course, I'm not talking about situations where you're asking about general things, you know, is sunny weather a better weather than rainy one? Yeah, we know that the answer is yes. So I was just curious, your thoughts, is that a bit of a contradiction? And if not, then how do you go about giving the right context to get the relevant answer?
That's a great question.
Yeah, it's a good, actually, this is, of course, it's a very high-level presentation, and if you'd like to explore how to have a proper Socratic conversation with AI, probably will be another topic of whole conference, even maybe. But yeah, in this case, still, of course, it's a presumably that the person who's asking knows a bit more, not just throwing random questions. So first of all, can provide all the context, like even you upload your documents, all the strategy, and so on, to introduce more variables and to think of it. And of course, you are, as a person who's asking questions, making that critical thinking part. So you're just evaluating on the answers in this case. And yeah, maybe it's still not the ideal part, AI on the critical thinking, but I know in 2 years, I think things might be very different. I just remember how I played with first DALL-E and what we got now with the image generation. Yeah, you saw that a lot of too. So yeah, couldn't change.
Excellent. All right, and I think we had one or a few more in the back.
Thank you. So, according to your presentation and MBA sample, if we follow the data, we are a bit doomed to be, you know, same, equal, and etc. Right? Because we want to be efficient, good, better, etc. So, what in terms of your suggestions, what could help you to be bold, to be strong, and to be resilient in terms of product and, you know, the manager?
I think first of all, it greatly depends on the area where you are, because sometimes being very different doesn't mean that you're doing very great thing. And I think it's still good if it's big company, so you can rely on the same good old Boston matrix, how to make it some cash cows, and you experiment on one part and stuff like this. If you're a small company, like small business, and you want like to make this giant leap, so yeah, so this is a bold move, and still it bears some level of risk, like in this MBA. So you just calculate the expected outcome out of this. And the reason I put this example, because there are many cases when products are the same and you're losing your identity. So you don't have to be identical, but you can have only a small portion of thing that can make you different, one and to stand out. I'm thinking of a good example, what was a simple product change which introduced a lot of everybody's talking about. I'm thinking good example.
Often that logo change is creating a lot of ripple effects. It's not even a product, it's just a logo, but people are talking.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, maybe somebody else can think of an example, but I think you give the idea. And let's go for one more last question and continue to the next keynote. Yep, please.
Yeah, hi. I would like to just compare AI and standard person conversation, just dialogue. And do you really think that Socrates would like to discuss something with AI? Is it really some kind of possibility? And is it good opponent for discussion? It's just, knowledge base, right? Not really Socrates opponent.
I remember, just we'll finish. Mazda RX-8 was a different car that made a rear-wheel drive, but the doors were opening differently. And this is really remembers which is differently when you see that car and they open your door. So it's just another rear-wheel drive sports car, but this is very special thing. And like another one example, DeLorean, DMC-12 from Back to the Future. It's actually pretty bad car if you look at the terms, but all the doors opening up, everybody knows that. So you stand out, and there are people who are fans of that car model and still buys that and drives it. So, yeah. And going back, so I don't think Socrates would be a great user because probably he won't know how to turn on computer. This is the first thing. And yeah, because this is just called Socratic method because it was employed first of all in the business analysis, like a tool or framework how to ask questions, how to form questions, and based on some historical things. And on the top of that, if someone would teach Socrates how to use computer, I think he would definitely will explore because he was a person who didn't know anything. So you have a person who knows everything, so it's a perfect companion to have a nice conversation. But yeah, most likely a best way to have conversation with another person.
Right. All right. Well, Ignas, pick please 2 questions that you feel like sparked something in you while thinking, or
yep.
And then feel free to pass those.
Yep. So first one, I am always.
Do we have a drum bell?
Nope. Okay, so first one is the first question. Okay. On what should be afraid of, because it's a very good question because we speak on nice things and sometimes it's good to steer at the void of yep, and so pick 3 from the back and
hard decisions.
Hard decisions, but my decision is that yes, to the person who thinks that Socrates should learn how to use computer if his spirit will be here with us.
Okay. Great. Ignas, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Excellent. Well, Ignas really helped us to set the scene for the following keynote. And before that, if you got inspired by Ignas presenting his thoughts and representing business analysis and many other practices we have here. So company is hiring in Lithuania across engineers, cloud, AI, data professionals. So if anybody is looking for a new gig, obviously you can scan a QR code and explore. We have over 150 positions open now for Lithuania specifically. And then I think a lot of people here are very senior. That's what I gathered from the list of attendees while kind of browsing really from how many different companies people are coming and the seniority. So I definitely understand that many of you might have like mentees or just working with junior people, overlooking them. So also feel free to recommend some of our educational, absolutely free of charge programs in EPAM campus. Also across a lot of interesting domains like Python, GenAI, front end, and so forth. Now, I would like to move forward to our second keynote. And this is a very special guest because Jon traveled yesterday a very long time, started very early in Germany and then went all the way from beautiful Warsaw to beautiful Vilnius. And I really appreciate him taking the time and coming over to present further on the topic of commercial skill set and really dive into some details and nuances. Jon Freeman is a client solutions partner at Product People, product management consultancy operating from Berlin, Germany. And at Product People, Jon helps product leaders from heads of product to CPOs to clarify their needs, unlock business outcomes, and he's helping to scale products, drive agile transformations, and lead go-to-market strategies, always starting from real customer insights and measurable outcomes. And in his keynote, Jon will actually help us very much to equip everyone here with very practical tools to drive better decisions by thinking commercially. And with this being said, a very warm welcome to Jon Freeman. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, thank you. And it has been a very warm welcome. I've been very much enjoying my time here in Vilnius, so thank you for having me. And, you know, special shout out here. I opened up my hotel door, and what do I see on the table is a handwritten note thanking me for coming. Who even knows? I can't even remember how to use a pen. So to find a handwritten note was something super, super special. So again, thank you very much for having me. So my goal whenever I try to have these sorts of talks is I want to have you go away with something practical, something that you can actually maybe apply in your job tomorrow. So I stay away from theoretical frameworks. Everything in here is practical, and everything in here is something you can Google. None of this is an original idea. It might be formulated in a slightly unique way, but again, none of this is an original idea. All of the things I'm going to be talking about exist. Other speakers are talking about them. There are books about these topics, et cetera, et cetera. The point is, I just hope that you are inspired, and then tomorrow you can go to your work and you go, oh, I have some idea of what I'm going to do next in order to drive impact within my organization, all right? But first, a little bit about me. Been in product management, B2B sales, consulting for about a decade now. If you haven't noticed, I don't sound like a German because I am not. I happen to live there, but I'm from California. I've worked with a couple of clients that maybe you've known, you know, Back Market, the Aviv Group, MDoc, some others in all throughout Europe. But you know, what is my real current focus? I build relationships. That is what I do. I talk with product leaders almost every single day about their challenges and how we can actually overcome them, and that is what I do, and I grow Product People, the organization. I'm going to tell you a bit more about Product People now. So we are a consultancy when we are the Onagiris. You'll notice branded. I am very branded today. So you're going to see a lot of my friends, the Onagiris, today. The little secret history of this is when our consultancy was founded, the very first client was in South Korea, and they worked us so hard. The only food that we could possibly get was the little onigiri from the convenience store across the street in between meals, and that's how we survived as a company. So thank you, Onagiris, for helping us survive. What do? We're your interim and fractional product managers. So in the event that somebody on your team goes on parental leave, or for whatever reason you're in a situation, you're pre-Series A, pre-Series B, you can't hire an FTE, a full-time employee, to fill a role, call us, we show up, we do the job in that interim basis. And we also do traditional consulting work as well, coaching, advising, product operations, product discovery. If it's product management, we do it. If you want to talk more about that, happy to talk about it. Why us? We do nothing but product management. We don't do dev, we don't do design, product management, product management, product management, and maybe just a little product management on the side, just in case we haven't had enough product management. 60% women in leadership. We're a very diverse team. You know, we don't care where you're from, what you look like. As long as you're good at product management, we want you on our team. We have a 0.5% acceptance rate. We get about 3,000 applications per year for people that want to work with us, which is pretty great. and a lot of different clients. I'll show you some of those, but something else that you should be aware of is we're community builders everywhere we go. We try to network and try to actually host events. I see some people that were an event that I hosted last night, so hello, good to see you. And you can always follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube because we do regular live streams where we try to share knowledge generously like I'm doing today, every Tuesday. Some of our clients, you might recognize a couple of them, you know, small clients, maybe you've never heard of them. I mean, who even uses eBay nowadays anyway? Some of our B2B clients, I think Localize is from Latvia, correct? Right? So maybe some that you've heard of there. All right. Now, on to the meat of the presentation now that I've done my fiduciary duties as a person that works at Product People. We're going to talk about commercial thinking and why it's super important for product managers. And something that I'm aware of is that PMs are resistant to commercial thinking, particularly in Europe. This is an observation that I've had when I'm working with teams, is they're a little intimidated by this idea of thinking in finance, thinking in numbers, okay? And there's some good reasons for it. It's like we think as PMs that we have to get everything right, and you're not going to be able to do that when you're thinking commercially and thinking in finances. You know, we're not sure exactly where to find the data. Sometimes it's not accessible to us, but other times it's just what data are we actually looking for? We don't even really know. Hard to access costs. You know, we had that example earlier of the CFO that says no, but sometimes you can get that CFO to say yes. You just have to be a little bit persistent, okay? Sometimes we think we know what the users need, and this is where we're always wrong, right? But you should not be afraid of talking about finances. Again, you don't have to have an MBA like I do to be able to do all of this stuff. There's YouTube videos, there's books, there's all kinds of stuff. Other speakers talk about these exact same things. None of this is a secret. You can all do it, okay? So what we want to talk about today, some of the risks of product management. You've seen this before. If you've seen this, raise your hand. Great. Value, usability, feasibility, viability. These are the risks of product management. Feasibility. Can we do it technically? This is where you work with your engineers and you de-risk that to figure out technical solutions. Usability. This is where you work with designers, right? Hey, how do we make sure that when our customers are interacting with it, it actually works? Okay? These are the things. But today we're going to focus here on viability, and this is where we try to make sure that the thing that we want to do actually makes sense for the business. Okay? Our job as product managers is not just to manage backlogs, but it's to de-risk, okay? Everything that we should be doing in terms of discovery and our ideation should be reducing the risk that the thing that we are going to produce sucks, and it hurts the business, and maybe even hurts our customers, okay? Leadership expects you to be thinking in impact. Have you ever talked to a CFO and he's like, cool, tell me about everything that the feature does? Or is he more like, tell me how much money that feature is going to make me? They're thinking about the impact that this is going to have on the customer. They're thinking about the impact this is going to have on the business. Commercial thinking, if you can display that you are thinking commercially, you will build trust within your organization and will help you up-level into a leadership role. If you are a commercially thinking PM, a commercially minded PM, here's some of the traits you're going to be having. You're going to be speaking as though you are in finance and sales, because you want to be speaking about how you are going to be selling your idea. Everybody in this room, whether you realize it or not, you're a salesperson. I have an idea. I need my engineers to do it. I have to sell them on the why behind the what. I have to sell them on how to do it, right? Everything you are doing is a communication where you're selling to somebody within the organization. You should be cognizant of that, and you should think not only how am I going to sell them on the what, but on the why, and the why is oftentimes tied to your finances. You should be able to translate your features into money. I'll talk more about that, but everything you do, every benefit, has a financial outcome, okay? And you should be thinking about value again, not just the functionality. So you need to be financially literate in order to do this, okay? Because this will help you align your work with your business goals, okay? Help you make informed business decisions, or help the organization make informed business decisions, and it'll help you speak the language of your executives. How many of you have walked into a meeting with the C-suite and they're only talking about ARR and MRR and ROI and all kinds of different initialisms that you're thinking, can you just speak a language we all understand? But that's the language that they speak, is they speak in the language of finance, and you should be able to too. Because if you are a commercially driven PM, you're likely going to be making better decisions, and you're likely going to get your ideas funded. So I read through some of the questions that the audience had asked prior to the event about, some basic concepts. Again, none of this is original. You can find it all online in books, etc. I'm just hoping that this inspires something, okay? When you're spotting commercial opportunities, you first need to ask the basic questions about what drives your business. How do you acquire and retain your customers, okay? Is it a marketing heavy generated, or is there some sort of a growth loop that, how does this actually work for you? Is it all word of mouth, right? You should know these things, and that can help you dive deeper into the practicalities of how you're going to engage with your customers and how you might actually be able to get more of them. Where are the upsell opportunities? Where are the upsell moments, okay? How can you generate more revenue per customer? Are we operationally efficient? That could be internal, that could be external facing. Like, you can think of it in terms of our processes that we have in-house that might delay our customer getting the thing that they need, which then makes them dissatisfied. Maybe we lose out on some revenue. Or it could be something like, hey, the way that we onboard them is clunky. Why don't we have a better onboarding? It makes it more efficient, less friction, more users, more money, right? And there's sources of opportunity that you can dive through that you likely all have access to, and if you don't feel like you do, pound on somebody's door until you do, right? Which is sales insights. This could be your direct sales persons, your sales engagement team, your sales operations, okay? They're constantly engaging with customers. They have insights. You should be leveraging that. Support tickets. Something goes wrong, it's probably a sign that you need to fix it, but also maybe there's some further thinking that you can do to understand the why behind the what there, and there may be an opportunity that you can uncover. Obviously, usage in analytics, you can see, why are they clicking over here but not here? It's a good question. Maybe there's something over here we can fix, maybe it's broken, or maybe this thing we should enhance, more clicks, more revenue in some way. And of course, direct engagement with the customers. If you have opportunities, if you're a B2B play, to sit in on sales calls, you 100% should. If you're B2C, scheduling calls with end consumers, you should be doing these things as often as you can to uncover as many ideas as you possibly can. And you're thinking in value, it is way more important to think about what value the thing you want to do actually drives for the organization and for your customers than what it actually does. What it does is interesting and it's important, and you need to communicate that, because guess what? You can't tell a developer, we're going to generate this value, and they go, cool, what am I doing? Right? So you have to do both. But at the end of the day, what's more important when you're thinking about how you're going to promote these ideas and how you're ultimately going to sell them, hey, this feature does this really cool thing with this cool tech stack. Isn't that awesome? It might be the coolest thing ever. But if you can say, this feature is going to drive this outcome, it's going to give this value. Hey, feature A saves our users 2,000 hours per year of something that they don't want to do. That's awesome, and that's something that they can sell, okay? Assessing some willingness to pay. Okay, now you have this idea. I have this thing that I think is going to save 2,000 hours per year per user. This is really awesome. I think that's valuable, but don't make that assumption. Validate. Always validate. There's a bunch of different things that you can do. Again, there's whole books on this. Read the Lean Startup, watch other presentations, etc. But look, there's fake door tests. You put up a dummy website. Hey, click here if you're interested in something that'll save you 2,000 hours. Doesn't that sound great? And see how many people click, right? To have some A/B pricing tests like, oh, click here if you'd pay 20 euros to save 2,000 hours. Click here if you'd pay 100. Just test it. Get some idea. And you can do this before you even built it, okay? Just assessing, is this actually valuable? And you can actually just do that by talking to somebody. Hey, if I were to do something that could save you that 2,000 hours, what would that mean to you? Would that be beneficial to you? Would you enjoy that? Would that, maybe you pay for that? Maybe. Maybe you pay for that. Maybe you wouldn't. I don't know. But you got to ask the question, and then you can take it a step further, and you can think about different pricing models, even again, before you've even developed something, and think about, okay, now I have an idea that they want to pay for it, but maybe there's a package. Maybe there's a good, better, best. Maybe they'll pick the middle package. I'm just curious. Again, fake pages, dummy landing page. You can do all these sorts of things, interviews with customers. These are all opportunities for you to spot an idea, okay? Now we're going to get into some more practical tips. We're going into the finance side of things. If anybody's written or read, I hope if somebody's written a finance book, that'd be incredible. But if you've read a finance book, at some point, you're going to see a lot of this stuff is going to be a refresher for you for sure. But we have this idea. Now we want to do some sort of a cost benefits analysis, okay? We have direct costs. So I'm just going to set a baseline. So we have some basics here, and I'll give this presentation out for all you taking pictures. I'm happy to send this to you. Connect with me. You can have it. It's totally fine. But direct costs, the things that we need to do to actually make this get done. We need to develop it. We need to design it. Maybe we need to have some access to an API. Maybe if it's a physical good, there's materials that are involved, right? There are direct costs to make this thing happen, but there's also indirect costs. In order to sell it, we need to market it, or we need training materials. We need to make that really cool YouTube video that shows you, like, if you click here, this is the cool thing that's going to happen, right? Those are indirect costs, and of course, opportunity costs, something to be always cognizant of. If I do this thing, I'm not doing something else. Should be, aware. And then, of course, benefits. Look, growth. I've talked to people who are like, I'm a growth guy. I get as many users on there. And I go, cool, why? They go, so we have more users. Yeah, but what does that do? In theory, you acquire those customers, they ultimately lead to more revenues, okay? Efficiency, hey, I'm able to correct something that was causing friction. Now that that friction is past us, we're saving some cost as a consequence of that friction. And of course, if you can just add more products, you generate more revenue, you make more money. So, super hyper simple, oversimplified cost benefits, okay? In this scenario, you contracted a design and dev agency. They gave you a flat fixed fee. You're licensing some software. It's going to cost you $20K for this project. Your earnings, you estimated $100K because you did some research, some switching costs from going from different APIs, $120K in benefits minus costs. There you go. Super simple, not rocket science. This is the easy stuff, but I know some of you are saying to me, but John, that's not how it works. You don't just get flat fees and so on and so forth, so I'm going to give you some more practical tips. Now imagine you want to understand, what does it cost to develop something? This is my favorite tool that I think all of you should add to your toolbox to be able to do cost-benefit analyses for all of your ideas, and this is the average fully burdened rate of development. Now, you're going to have to work with some of your friends in finance, maybe even HR. The idea here is it's an average blended rate. So you don't need to know how much Steve makes compared to how much Jeff makes compared to how much Susie makes. It's a blended rate on average. What is the total developer cost on average? And that's their total cost in terms of their salary, but also the benefits that are on there. You calculate it like something like this. You got your average salary, your healthcare, training, equipment. Average total cost per developer is $150K a year, something along those lines. Then how many hours per year do they actually work, right? 44 weeks, because people go on vacation. They're not AI yet. 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, boom, that's how many hours they're going to work for the year. So you can say an hour of development from one developer, 85 euros an hour in this example. Suddenly you have a number that you can start leveraging when you're making estimations when you're working with your engineers. How might that look? Okay. Average fully burden rate of the developers, 85. We have an estimate because we've been talking to our team. We're actually using man days to make our estimates. Story points are definitely preferred, but now we have an actual use case for man days, which is, hey, we think it'll take us about 10 days for one developer to do this thing, 6,800 euros. Awesome. Now you can actually start saying, there's a cost to this that I can then play against and say, look, we think it's 6,800. I'm going to show you why we're going to get this money back. Now, every benefit should be turned into financial gains as best as it can be done, right? If you're doing growth, every new user should lead to some revenue gain, okay? If we're talking about efficiency, if we're improving the tech stack, that should lead to some cost savings. Upsell, every item added to cart. Again, what might that look like? Let's say you've got a freemium model here, and you've figured out, based on what you're trying to work on, hey, we think we're going to get 10,000 new users as a consequence of this thing. Feature whatever is going to get us 10,000 new users. We've done a bunch of research. We've seen comparables from other companies that have done this. Now, we on average have a 3% conversion rate, free to paid. They on average pay 200 euros. Look, we're going to get 60K in additional revenue if we do this thing. Okay? All of you should be able to do this. And if you don't feel like you have access to this information, talk to your manager, knock on their door, beat them over the head with something. I don't know, but they should be enabling you. Now, here's another thing that people talk about. Oh, we've got this awful tech stack, this monolith, it's constantly breaking, but nobody ever wants to fix it. Well, here's a way that you might be able to get somebody to listen to you, okay? Look, we spend 5 days per sprint fixing broken, crappy code that breaks every single time that we deploy something. It's always buggy. There's this ripple effect. You did something here, you broke over here, and you go, you know what, we think a monolithic structure is not sustainable. We want to go to microservices, but nobody wants to listen to us. Well, look, you show them something like this. We're doing 5 days a sprint fixing shit that we don't want to fix. It's costing us $600 a day per developer. There's 26 sprints a year. Boom, $78K a year. Is that worth fixing? Or, you know, because your bosses or somebody in the organization, they just complain all the time about how buggy it is. Well, no, it's costing us money. And it's also slowing us down, and this is also an opportunity for us to go faster. Fix this problem today, be slower today, go faster tomorrow, okay? But you can arm yourself with some numbers to start having those conversations, get your ideas approved. Always remember that business context matters, okay? I don't know what organization you work for. If you're a small company, you're pre-Series A, you don't necessarily have all the funding in the world, runway really, really matters, okay? You're not going to be pitching something that's going to have a 10-year return on investment if you don't have 6 months. You need something that's going to be good for you tomorrow. Same thing if you're in a large corporation, you work for Google, and you say, Google, this idea is going to get us 10,000 euros. Google's going to say, go home. Like, we throw 10,000 euros out the window every day in toilet paper. We don't care. That's not important to us. We want bigger bets. So what are some tools you can use to help justify the bets that you're trying to make, depending on your situation, right? If you're on a short runway, you have payback period and you have time to cash. These are some really basic tools that you can use that you can help justify what you want to do, right? How's it going to look? On the top, you have your investment costs. Obviously, when you start, it's going to have higher investment cost. And then maybe there's some maintenance fees that you have to do. So in month 0, we spent a bunch of money to get this thing built. In month 1, we did some alpha testing. Month 2, we did some beta testing just to make sure that, you know, we get some paying customers that are willing to try it, right? Those early adopters. And boom, month 3, we released it wide to the market, and it was a huge success. Well, that's our time to cash. Now we're cash flow positive in month 3. You could see our costs are less than the revenues generated. We're cash flow positive. Investors love to see things like cash flow positive, okay? Like sometimes when they're thinking long term, they're like, okay, the payback period's one thing, but when are we going to start generating positive cash flow on a month-to-month basis, right? This depends on the company. This depends on the investors, something to be cognizant of. And then payback period, look, by the time we're at month 4, all this upfront investment paid off. Great. So if you can present this and say, look, I know this seems expensive. I know we're a small company and 15 grand seems expensive. It'll be back in 4 months. Can we justify doing something if we're going to get the money back in 4 months? Maybe you're more likely to get the yes. Okay. Net present value calculations. This is a much more complex thing that you can do when you're evaluating big bets. You need to work with your friends in finance to make sure that they're helping you validate things like your forecasts, because this is going to require a 10-year outlook, and you're going to make shit up. That is what you are going to do, because that's the only way, because none of us have a crystal ball. None of us can see the future. If you can see the future, please talk to me and tell me what tomorrow's lottery numbers are. I would like to do other things with my time and have, you know, money and stuff. So that would be great. Come talk to me. But forecasts are something that are very difficult to do. You know, you can utilize comparables. You can think about how other companies have done things in the past that have and seen what their path to success has been. Maybe you've just done a bunch of market research and you can see like, hey, if we land company A, we land company B, that's going to lead us to a bunch of different ripple effects as we get embedded within a market. Whatever, you've done some forecast. You've also done some forecasts on the cost. Discount rates, that's something that you should be cognizant of. What it technically is the banking rates, what they trade each other. If I'm a bank and I loan to another bank, whatever, boring. But oftentimes companies have their own internal discount rate. You're Apple, you got 200 billion sitting there in cash, and you're going, do I invest it into a new iPhone 17 34.5? You know, or the iShoe. The iShoe's coming next year. It's really exciting. Do I want the iShoe? Do I want to invest in that? Or do I put this into bonds and just get a free rate of return? That's what that discount rate is meant to be, is the free rate of return that you're competing with, okay? And then you want to work with finance, obviously validate your assumptions. What is this thing going to look like? Much more complicated, but very much doable, because this is in every single spreadsheet. You just hit equals NPV, and you can do it, again, books, YouTube, all kinds of stuff. None of this is original. But the idea here is, you have your upfront investment costs. You know there's going to be costs year over year because you have to maintain it. Imagine this is a big server farm and it's going to cost you $150K a year and just in server costs, whatever. Every year you're making more and more and more and more money. You have your cash flows estimated at a 10-year period. You figured out your discount rate because you worked with your friends in finance, and you just hit equals NPV into your spreadsheet of choice, Excel, Google Sheets, whatever. If it's green and positive, you win. Get a chance to invest it. Your numbers are going to be bullshit. Let's be clear on that. This is a swag. If you haven't heard that before, scientific wild-ass guess. Okay? That's right. Scientific wild-ass guess. But it's a educated wild-ass guess. Okay? You should always be thinking in scenarios, best case versus worst case, because if you don't, somebody else will for you. If it's all sunshine and roses and, hey, it's going to be perfect, ooh. Somebody's going to tell you why it's not going to be perfect. So you should be transparent about those risks and back your estimates with real data. Things can get incredibly complicated if you want them to be. I'm not going to run through this, but, you know, there's a best case, a worst case, and if we did nothing case here, okay? This is how complicated it can be. It doesn't have to be. That's why I think you should work with your finance team. Did I mention that? Work with finance. They're pretty great at this kind of stuff. Supplement you, but you should also be able to do it yourself. Because I did that myself, and it worked. So, at least it got me budget, and that's what mattered. So, key takeaways. You should be thinking in value and euros anytime you can. If you have commercial insight, you will have product influence. If you're speaking the language of the executives and you're speaking in money, they're going to listen to you. Don't speak in features, speak in money. And when you do have an idea, test it, validate it, crunch some numbers, and connect with me.
Jon, thank you very much. Just give me a sec, I'll switch myself in as well. Once again, big thank you for excellent presentation by Jon. Just to appreciate the long journey and everything. Thanks for coming. And continuing the only good news tonight. So one more good news is, how many people know that this week their product conference happening in Vilnius, organized by VIX and Vinted? Yeah, quite a few, but not everybody. So now you know that it's the second year, guys, product teams in Vinted and VIX doing a great job organizing a very big event, this time not in VIX office like last year, but in Sabah City. And since we are all here to strengthen the ecosystem, to exchange, we have very good news, because two of you guys who will ask, according to Jon, the best questions, interesting questions, you'll get a chance to go and enjoy the whole day of a conference on Thursday. So keep that in mind while thinking of a question, and let's open up for questions. So we'll need help with the mic, and we have already a question in the end over there. So Justina, thank you for helping. All right.
Thanks. Jon, what is a product?
What is a product? A product is pretty much anything that you can sell, quite frankly. Yeah. That's a good question, I suppose. Yeah. All right.
Wonder what's, your definition from that, yourself as a heavyweight.
I mean, I've definitely gained a few pounds, but I wouldn't call myself a heavyweight. If you can sell it, it's a product.
Yeah, I wonder how to predict anything dumb like Minecraft would be so successful and how to find such products.
Yeah, I mean, comparables are important, right? Like, so before Minecraft, there were Legos.
Yeah.
There's virtual Legos, right? That's kind of the idea behind Minecraft. But, you know, the concept of building and growing and having these sorts of puzzles that you could play with has always been there. It's just how do you optimize it in a way that makes it more engaging, right? Take things that exist in the real world. Very, very few ideas and very, very few cool new products are completely and totally original. It's incredibly rare for there to be something completely original. It's always iterations, okay? Before we had the shipping container, we had trucks that would just drive on there and they try to pick things up, and then they realized, no, pick up the actual container itself. It was an iteration of a thing that was already happening, and now we have globalization as a consequence of shipping containers, right? But it's true of like, think of a product that you have right now. I'm wearing an Apple Watch. Before the Apple Watch, there were watches. Before there were watches, there were clocks. Before there were clocks in your home, there were clock towers. It's all iterative.
Okay, we have in the middle Martinas. Oh, excuse me, yeah, let's start, yeah.
Hi. I don't think many people would disagree that the concepts that you've explained are, well, not the right thing to be thinking about.
Sure.
From a leadership perspective, how do you encourage your organization to follow these kind of principles and to get your product managers to think about that rather than I think many people have been at the fault of basically thinking up an idea and trying to kind of quickly go and produce that product rather than doing a little bit of background work to validate it. And yeah, how do you encourage that cultural shift towards validate, de-risk the investment?
Yeah, this is a gigantic problem that I see like all the time in some of the companies that we've worked with, whereby they think that the purpose of product and development is to produce more stuff as opposed to producing the right stuff. And so it becomes about, it's treated like it's manufacturing of a physical product, okay? Like, hey, the more widgets that you have out in the ecosystem, then that means the more widgets that you can sell. But when you're copying the same widget again and again and again, that's a very, very different thing than when you're trying to build something new. And so when you're trying to build something new, you really do need to have that conversation with them. And the way that I've done this in different organizations is you start by doing some of this math up front, even though it's not been asked for. And you start to show, hey, look, I know we don't typically do a sort of a financial analysis and we just kind of move forward, but I've done the work. Can we have a conversation? And you spark that conversation that way. And then sometimes it gets derailed because they say, no, we have a process and we have to do it. And some customer said that they wanted it and we don't care what you have to say. But the point is you kind of start small, tackling it with any sort of opportunity where you can make these sort of assessments. And then leveraging that to start saying like, hey, this is the pilot program. Maybe this unique team is going to be the one that does these financial assessments on the onset. We're going to be the one that tests and learn and validate and see if our results long-term are better than that team's. And if so, maybe we should all reconsider how we're operating as an organization.
All right. That's a comprehensive question, and I think it deserved a very comprehensive answer. And I think we have a few more hands here. So let's start in the middle, since I think it's been for a while. And then go here closer. Yes. Okay.
Jon,
first row then. Yeah.
Jon, why China is so successful in product development?
Say that one more time.
Why China is so successful in product development?
Cheaters, that's why.
And my second question is, you gave us a small mini finance course that I would appreciate, but how about storytelling? Where it takes its place and why it should be or not should be?
I was joking with your first question, but I mean, there's kind of some truth to that there's a lot of really opportunity to take what's already been there, iterate on it quickly. Okay.
Remix.
Yeah. It's just about being able to do the repetitions because they don't necessarily have the regulations to slow them down the same way that we do in other countries. So that's one concept that we should think about. Storytelling, 100%. I treated this more like a lecture in finance more so than it is storytelling, but in the end of the day, we are storytellers. If you work in product management, your job is to tell a story. Every single framework, every single tool is a way to help organize your thoughts so that you can explain it better to somebody else. Why do you use this prioritization framework over this one? I'm using RICE because I can talk about my reach and my, whatever. Take that, you go, this is how I thought about it, this is how I was able to prioritize, and now I can explain it to you using a common tool. But at the end of the day, it's all about communication. The tool itself is kind of irrelevant, so long as the tool makes sense to the people that you are using to describe it, so that there's some justification behind it. So at the end of the day, storytelling is hypercritical. Build this into your storytelling. Hey, I want to do this thing. Here's how I started. I had some customer insights. Those customer insights led me to some investigations. Those investigations led me to thinking about how I could de-risk this thing into making it something practical. And look, we've done some financial numbers that say not only can we do it, but it might make us some money. Doesn't that sound exciting? There's a story there, right? The finances are just a piece of it. They're a part of that puzzle.
And while we're getting to the next question, indeed, I think there's a lot of that.
Hi, Jon. Thank you very much for your presentation. No need to argument, but what is the best product that you have used in your life? Could be digital, physical, whatever, like one name.
Best I've ever used in my life. Well, that is a very personal question. I do like sleep, so the bed idea was a really, really good one. Sleep. I like simple products. I like products that just automatically make sense, like a bed. The shoes I'm wearing right now might be my favorite product I've ever owned because they're just so damn comfortable. They feel like I'm on a cloud. It's simple, it's easy to understand, it's easy to market, it's easy to sell. The easier it is, the better it is for me. So when it comes to me personally, I actually have a pretty simple life. I don't have a TV, right? I try to avoid the Instagrams and the TikToks and all the digital stuff that's going to kill us. I like physical books. I'm very boring. So for me, keep it simple, easy to understand, and make it have true value at an affordable price. I highly recommend these shoes. Seriously, they're really, really good.
So cushioning is important. The bed,
Super
the shoes should be very, very good. All right. Few more questions. Let's ask two more questions. So we have one here, and okay.
Two short ones. First one, favorite onigiri taste?
Favorite onigiri taste? Plain, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a big onigiri person, but my founder 100% is.
Oof.
If it's got some fish in it and you can put that crunchy onion on there, I'm pretty happy. Fish and crunchy onion. Is that a flavor?
Right. Sounds right. Yes,
okay.
You recovered. And second question, you mentioned in one of the first slides that you accept, I think, 0.5 applicants. So what is one thing that you're looking for in the applicant that it's 100% okay, that's a fit?
Logical thinking is probably the number one thing. The hardest thing to find is that storytelling we were just talking about in a moment. Part of our hiring process is that if you get to this phase, you're going to have to present on an idea, on a concept, and I want to see how you got from point A to point B. What are the alternatives that you were considering? Did you think about the financial impact? Hey, do you have a go-to-market plan? Have you thought about what your dev plan is? What are you doing on day 1? What are you doing on day 30? How are you going to get from this idea to something that's actually executed? And if you can show me some logic there, that makes me really happy. The other thing is, culture is something you cannot skip on. We hire people that they have to meet our cultural standards, which is they're friendly, they're fun, we like working with them. You can't be a jerk if you want to work at my company. Don't even try. And we test that before you even get a chance to even show us that you're skilled. We have a culture fit call. And we test if you're a good person, according to our standards.
Fair enough. Okay, one more.
Thanks for the talk. In one of the slides where you talked about product managers wanting to be precise or specific, I don't quite remember how you mentioned it, but there was a 4th bullet point about you don't know what your customer wants. And you mentioned that there are cultural differences. About this exact bullet point, are there cultural differences between Europe, US, China? Do people assume more or less in Europe that they know what the customer wants?
That's such a great question. By the way, spoiler alert, we will get into a lot of that detail in the fireside chat. But Jon.
Nice, yeah. So I think it has to do with the systems that are in play within a particular organization and how they view the job of product manager that then leads to biases, right?
Yeah.
So one thing that I see that I really don't like, I think product management itself is an art form that needs to be mastered, and the actual, company that you work in, whatever the technology you're working in, the product itself is indifferent to the fact that you need to be good at product management. And so what I see happen at different companies is they go, hey, we're a medical device company, or we're a pharmacy company, okay? We're gonna do some sort of pharmacy tech. Instead of hiring product managers to build out this new pharmaceutical digital interface, they hire pharmacists and they try to train them to be PMs. And so what happens very often is you get something called domain dogma, okay? And this is a concept where you have somebody that's super hyper-focused on the domain itself, and they're so focused on it that they can tell you what you can't do, okay? Oh, no, you can't do that. I've been in pharmacy for the last 15 years, and in the last 15 years, you've never been able to do this thing in pharmacy, therefore it can't be done. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear, hey, what are the steps we're going to take to try and figure out a way around this blockade? There is likely some logical solution for how we can overcome something, but that domain dogma is real. And so I think it's a structural issue where, in particular, traditional companies, where they have this mindset, again, it's like a manufacturing mindset, where it's like, hey, if we want to be able to make tires for the car, we need to get the best guy who knows how to make rubber. Okay, that's great for a tire, maybe, but it doesn't necessarily work in product management, right? Where you need to really be thinking about product management as its own function and not a byproduct of having to produce shit.
All right. Just quick check. I think few more people wanted to ask a question. If you can still raise a hand just to understand where we are with the questions and desire to ask those. One and okay, fine. Let's do a few more. So it's about the communication. So please.
Okay, I really like the idea of building cool things versus building the things that save, let's say, 2,000 hours per year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, can you give me at least one good example when product manager would go and pitch within the company, let's, I don't know, optimize development process. Let's do developer experience. Let's do something that builds internally. I'm just missing these examples in the real world. Most of the time they are, let's build something new, let's sell it. But do you have these examples?
Yeah, generally speaking, when companies are coming to a point of maturity is when they start looking at things and realizing that they're unable to grow without some of these, I think I'm stealing this from Rich Mironov, the null product is the concept. I think he might have originated it, might be somebody else that originated it, but the concept of the null product is that there is a foundational layer under every single product that has to be done right in order for everything on top of it to work effectively, okay? And oftentimes the null product is your architecture, right? It's all the API integrations that you have with various technical systems, okay? It's a bunch of different, underlying code, that monolithic structure, right? Because you started as a startup, and as a startup, it's you have to go quickly and you have to produce shit, because if you don't, you're not going to make money and you die, okay? Startups have to go quickly, and you should, as a startup, be willing to make sacrifices to say, I'm going to produce really shitty code just to get it out the door today so I could sell something. Now that bites you in the ass 5 years later. Now you're in a position where you're going, now we want to scale and we actually want to grow into a bigger organization. And as a consequence of that, we need to fix the mess that we created at the onset. That actually takes a lot of data. And like I was showing you that example, hey, 5 days per sprint, we're wasting time. Now you multiply that out to a gigantic organization where it turns into 500 man days because you have 30,000 developers and 500 of them are just wasting time every single sprint. The numbers start adding up and it suddenly becomes this huge problem, because not only is it costing you money fixing all this bullshit bugs, it's slowing you down because those 500 developers could be doing something else that's actually driving value. So at some point it becomes just a logical necessity. If we want to continue our growth, we have to set the right foundations. And that's when you start implementing design systems, having proper product operations, where you have embedded data sets like that are accessible and that make sense for the organization, and so on and so forth. So it's just a matter of timing. So if you work at a startup and you're going, oh, they only want me to produce new things, it's probably because they have to, because they don't have the runway.
I think there was a question about, how we treat the context, and it's exactly the right moment to remember. It's really a contextual question, right? Just sometimes, again, commercially, just doesn't make sense to care about those things at a certain point because you don't have money in 6 months. So, and then for Google, where is the moonshot? So, all right, last question, and then the hard choices.
Yeah. Ooh.
My question is, what role should a product manager play in pricing strategy?
Mm-hmm. It depends on I honestly think every product manager should play a role in it, right? So there's different thought processes on these. Like, there's the pragmatic marketing approach from a million years ago, but this idea that really our role should be touching virtually every single element of it, not necessarily owning every single element of it, but being an informed stakeholder and being somebody with influence within all of these things. And so as we're developing this product, we're the first line of defense, most likely, whereby we're the ones having those customer interactions. We're the ones that are having these interviews. Maybe we're the ones that are actually facilitating the surveys alongside our customer or research teams, right? So if you have a research team that's going out, you should be pairing with them and starting to provide that information or trying to gather that information about willingness to pay. And then you can start working with your friends in finance to start figuring out, hey, this is the willingness to pay, but does this actually make sense for us as a business? Because is this willingness to pay actually going to help us become profitable? Or actually, their willingness to pay is much higher than we ever anticipated. Can we find different solutions of pricing and packaging and so on so that we can optimize depending on various customer bases? Because you might be able to, split your package or split your product into different distinct user groups where it's like, hey, we are Microsoft and we created Microsoft Office Suite. Well, we have Office Suite for businesses, but we also have Office Suite for families, and we also have Office Suite for schools, and we also have Office Suite for individuals. Each of those has a different pricing and packaging because each of those have different feature sets, so they can then optimize and take advantage of the different customer groups and their willingness to pay. So it really does help you to think about your product if you are thinking about pricing in your strategy, because you might think, I want to build this feature set, but for who? And then you can say, okay, upsell opportunity for this group, it is worth it because that group's willing to pay the most money. Generally, that's the companies and the corporations that you're working with.
And then, like Peter Drucker said once, nothing really happens until someone sells something, and the price is really important in that equation. So, all right, well, Jon, once again, thank you so much. And then who are the lucky 2 ones? By the way, also, we need to know about your availability, because if you're not available to join the conference on Thursday, you will need to find someone else who will be delighted to go there. So,
who wants to call in sick so they can have more fun? My man here, I think you get one. You are welcome.
Well, applause to Carlos. Or do you have a ticket to the conference already for a product? Okay. So that's a good... and you're a product manager? Excellent.
Nice.
Fantastic. That's a great fit for the conference. Awesome. And networking as well. And the second one?
We'll go with the pricing question at the end.
The very last one?
Yeah, very last.
Excellent. Awesome. Awesome. Well, Jon, once again, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you. And before we continue, one more thing, and I want to make a shout out to, we have a few co-organizers here, ProductTank people. Wave hello. We have a few. So what we figured, there is a lot of work to organize this, believe it or not. So if you feel like you enjoy what's going on, we have a lot of people who are here for the very first time in ProductTank. Fantastic. Very warm welcome. Maybe, actually, you also would like to look behind the scenes, how we actually pull off this type of event. And for that, feel free to scan this QR code. I don't see any photos in the air so far. No, one is there, 2. Okay, good. So some conversion rate I can see in the room. That's very good. So feel free to fill in the form. We'll be in touch, and we would love to see a few more people on the team to keep these events coming. And with this, we will continue sharp in 10 minutes, just a power break, enjoy our terrace, some drinks, and we will come back for the fireside chat with Dainius and Andrius. Thank you. And let's play some music. Monika, labas. Aš vizualiai žiūriu, man atrodo, bet žinai, kaip visada. Smagu, ačiū, kad... Taip. Ne, come on. Smagu. Galim kada ir susitikti, aišku, ir šiandien pabendrausim, bet ir galim papitauti kada. Taip. Kur tavo ofisas? Iš kur dirbi? Priešai Sozą. Iš esmės nelabai toli. Aš tai kada Lietuvoje esu, aš apiruoju labai retai iš mūsų ofiso, dažniausiai iš namų ofiso, bet plius minus. Pirmin atgal. Aš toks tarp daug kur, bet Vilniui, dabar Vilniui. Aš 20 metų užsienį praleidau ir mano visi klientai yra užsienio. Tai daug skrydžių. Aš turiu kažkokį savo ten šiokį tokį konsultavimą, bet ten nieko... Ne, čia yra įmonės reikalai, aš susifokusavęs į tai va. Bet smagu matyti, labai džiugu, kad atėjai. Tai va. Ir labai pasisekė ir va, su orais pasaka ir tikiuosi, kad visai neblogai čia viską darom, tai pasimėgok. Aš būsiu rytoj, workshopą yra, iš tikrųjų mano geras bičiulis Vintade kaip tik ves vieną workshopą dirbtuvės, tai prisijungsiu, o ketvirtadienį bus konferencija irgi, netgi day off paėmiau. Business development. Džiavai. Ačiū. Viso. Iki, rytoj susitiksim. Sėkmės. Atsiprašau, man kai ką reikia čia įdėti, bet labai smagu pabendrausim. Hi, Andrius. Lab vakar. I'm guessing Latvian. No? Okay, gerai. Taip. Taip. Teko skirti laiką pasidomėti, kas, ten paskaityti, pavyzdžiui, kas yra ProductTank, kas kaip, kas tai yra, kaip tai vyksta. Pirmą kartą kaip tik yra. Super, tai sveiki atvykę. Tai žodžiu, produktai, tai yra nekomercinė organizacija, tai yra, mes savanoriai. Tiesiog šitoje vietoje dar gaunasi taip, mes, pavyzdžiui, aš dirbu EPAM Systemose ir, aš sutariau su savo įmonė, kad mes organizuosim čia. Tai tiesiog man buvo biški patogiau. Bet šiaip mūsų renginiai vyksta, pavyzdžiui, vieną prieš tai renginį aš organizavau kitoje įmonėje mes darėm. Ir, pavyzdžiui, šitą renginį realiai aš padariau vienas iš mūsų visų koorganizerių. Ten šiandien man padėjo, mikrofoną paduoti jums, kad užduoti klausimą, bet šiaip, yra daug veiklos ten viską paorganizuoti. Viską, ką šiandien matot, speakeriai, tema, kaip viskas eina, tai yra šita galva, ne? Aš suradau speakerius, aš sugalvojau temą, kodėl taip, mes dabar per fireside chat biškai daugiau pakalbėsim, nes labai aktuali tema, apie tai dabar kaip tik minėsiu. MTP, tai yra Mind the Product, tai yra didžiausia produktinė konferencija. Daug metų jau vyksta ir ProductTank tai yra jų bendruomenės dalis. 200 miestų po visą pasaulį, taip organizuoja, kad žmonės galėtų bendrauti. Ir šiais metais buvo vėl konferencija Londone, aš ten buvau ir žinokit, arba galim ko gero tu. Ir žinai, ten buvo labai daug pranešimų ir tokių pokalbių būtent apie tai, kad ir mes biškai apie tai pakalbėsim, nes Andrius Baranauskas, jisai valstijose dabar dirba, Shopify. Aš daug, ir dabar dirbu su pagrindinė valstijos klientais. Mes matom tiesiog, kad Commercial Skillset in Europe versus US. It's very different. Viską, ką dabar Jonas papasakojo, ir aš turėjau patirties darbo kažkiek ir netgi ir su lietuviais produktistais, bet šiaip Europai. Taip, reikalavimai, bet tiesiog tokių dalykų, ką, pavyzdžiui, ypatingai Jonas dabar parodė, mes specialiai tai norėjom parodyti. Nes, patikėsi ar ne, bet tiesiog nebuvo galimybės, atsiprašau, Javai, taip. Tau reikia išeiti, ne, ant kortelės. Aha, tuoj, sekundę aš paprašysiu, ką nors. Tuoj, sekundėlę ateis. Can you ask someone to go downstairs and let a few people want to go out already? So. Jo, man reikia labai gerai, reikia nepamiršti apie Karolį. Atsiprašau, šiam matot, vat dėl to reikia turėti daugiau koorganizatorių. Vat atsakymas. Man reikia tiesiog vardo pavardės. Aš Aleksas. Tautvydai, malonu. Galėtum gal mane LinkedIn'e surasti? Aš to atidarysiu. Ir man tiesiog reikia vardo pavardės. Nu, ir vat, kaip tik puiku iš savo profilio atkeliaus. Toj sekundėlę, vat mano šitas QR kodas. Na, ir tiesiog žinutė, nu pasaka, ketvirtadienį reiškia konferencija, ne, grėsia. Labai gerai. Taip, man reikia surasti porą slaidų. Kur čia? A, ne? Atšūdas, toj. Žiūrėsim, kas ten atsitiko. Interneto nėra, Aleksas, iPhone. Toj, gal... O kas ten nepavyksta? A, ne? Shit. Klausyk, nu, tada galiu paprašyti savo koduką man parodyti, tada atvirkščiai padarysim. Nes jo, aš gaunu labai daug visko, tai ten jau matyt accept, vat iškart dabar bus viskas gerai. Super. Jo, Tautvydai, smagu. 360 Mind, ką veikėt? Kas toks? O konkrečiau?
Kalbos mokymosi appsas, svorio metimo appsas, panašiai kaip...
Ok, labai įdomu, labai įdomu. Nu, super. Taipogi. Andrius, jo, atsiprašau. Nu, šitas renginys, jo, tokia mintis buvo. Va, ir... Jo, biški, vat, nu, kaip matot, čia pavyko man atvežti, taip sutapo gerai laikai, nes vat Andrius, pavyzdžiui, su kurio dabar pokalbį turėsim, jisai pristatymą darys va toj konferencijai, apie ką mes dabar minėjom. Vyksiu ir Vintudu, tai atvyko aplankyti Dainius, kuris prisijungs, irgi mano geras bičiulis, tai jisai iš Kopenhagos tiesiog greitas skrydis, tai pagalvoju, nu gerai, irgi galima pasimatyti su šeima. Džonas, nu irgi turėjom reikalų ir vat, jie visai irgi taip žiūri čia į rinką, jiems įdomu, visai čia yra žmonių ir, nu žodžiu, taip viskas sutapo, tai vat, sugalvojau tokį naują formatą. Pas mus dažniausiai, žinokit, reikia ateiti pažiūrėti kitus mūsų renginius ir tada iš vis viskas bus labai aiškiai, nes pas mus dažniausiai mūsų formatas yra toks, kad tiesiog yra vienas arba du pranešimai ir viskas, ir tiesiog networking daug. O šiandien mūsų tikslas buvo taip labai, daug tokio turinio, kad porą gerų pranešimų, tada, trumpa pertraukėlė, tada diskusija, bet tokia, mes nedarysim įrašo netgi, labai atvirai kalbėsim ir tada jau, toliau galima bus dar pabendrauti ir taip toliau. Ir viskas yra, dėl to, kad, yra Lietuvoje daug įmonių. Aš pats praleidau 20 metų užsienio, dabar porą metų proudly declaring my taxes in my home country. Va, ir aš matau, kad vis tiek turim mes ten vienaragius, turim tas, bet reikia dar daugiau, nes aš esu matęs, kaip tai vyksta Amsterdame, Londone, New York'e. Reikia tokių renginių, kuo daugiau, kad žmonės galėtų ir bendraminčių surasti, ir naują darbą surasti, ir visa kita. Nu, man asmeniškai kas iš to, man nuostabu, pavyzdžiui, dabar matyti, ir senus bičiulius, kuriuos aš gal kartą per metus per tokį renginį galiu pamatyti, nes kitaip laiko neturiu. Tai, ir, sakau, 20 metų užsienį, tai aš labai mažai ką pažįstu, tai man čia fanai tiesiog ryšį kažkokį užmėgsti. Jo. Andriau, įdėjau nuotrauką, super, ačiū, labai fainai. Nu, smagu. Iki. Tvarkoj. Gerai. Taip. Yeah, doing well, but there are a lot of moving parts, so I just need to Martynai, labas. Daug paspausiu. Hello. Huh? Kavos nėra? Oh, Jesus Christ, how possible? But you have a coffee inside a little bit, so... Anyway, look, we'll have a chat, but let me first, Nikolai, a quick question. So look, one of the guys will have this headset, and one will have the microphone. So we then keep one for questions. That would be the setup, because otherwise we have only 4, right? So we can already... Andriu, tu nieko prieš su tokiu mikrofonu būsi? Gerai? Okay. So... Jo. Nu, aš ten į kišenę įmešiau, netrukdė, žinok, viskas gerai. Labas. Tai va, tai sveiki. Ačiū. So can we help Andrius to set the mic, and then I will find Dainius... The headset, I meant, yeah. Okay. Daniel. How are you guys doing? All good? Good.
You cannot close the door for the second part to the balcony.
Yeah, sure. Sorry? Dainiau, ne, žinok, pas mus mikrofoną čia biškai, žodžiu, pas tave bus rankinės. Normaliai, gerai, tvarkoj? Nu, super, nes jo, pas mus šiandien... O ne? Gerai, nes nesuradau ir vat jau Andrių tokį suradom, bet... Jo, gerai, ir mes kaip tik vieną turėsim, nu, kad klausimai, atsakymai. Jo. Yes, look, there are so many things. Agenda, fuck it. Yo. Okay. Can you switch me back to some volume? Okay, okay. Okay. No, I don't hear myself for some reason still. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wait a sec. Yeah, it's switched on. It's switched on. It's switched on. Still switched. Still switched. It is switched. It is switched. Yeah. Jo, kažkaip gal mums jo dabar nebereikės. Ne, jo nebereikės dabar. Should be, but all right. So everybody, I know you're continuing to talk and finishing conversations, and that's exactly what those events we organize are about. And we will have a little bit more time for that in more or less 40 minutes. And I will continue talking on top of all the discussions going on, because that's the only way you can slowly wrap up discussions and come closer, because this will be a different setting. And at this point, I also want to reach out to, I don't know how many people are watching us in our live broadcast, but essentially I want to say thank you for spending the time with us. And if you paid attention to descriptions carefully, then you definitely know that actually we will stop the stream at this point, because we want to keep this discussion very candid, very intimate. If we would have a bonfire here, I mean, we have a carpet, but you know, for all sorts of reasons, we'll be not having a bonfire, but we will have a very candid conversation, a fireside chat. And gentlemen, we can sit down, and I think we will do all the talking already in a sitting position. And once again, thank you for those joining us in the stream, and hopefully more of you will be joining us on site here in some of the companies hosting one of those events. By the way, if you work in one of those companies who has a nice space for an event to happen, reach out, because our events happening in all sorts of companies all the time. Today we thank EPAM Systems for hosting us, but tomorrow it can be Vinted, another day it can be someone else, you know, whoever has the space, really. So with this being said, let me start getting closer to the fireside chat.